Welcome to Life in Leadership with David Gadberry. We're excited that you're joining our leadership community. There's a lot of information about leadership, but a lot of times it's too sterile for real life. Life is messy and leadership can be messy. Here we talk about real leadership in the context of real life. If you're a leader looking for tips, insight, and wisdom on leadership, you can follow David on social media. And for upcoming group coaching experiences and more, go to gadberry.org. David is the lead pastor of Summit Church in Canyon, Texas, and we would love to invite you to be a part. For more information, go to yoursummitchurch.com. This is the Life and Leadership Podcast.
Hey, gentlemen, good morning. How you doing today?
Good, doing good.
It's a good day. Yeah, it is. I was just thinking, Scotty, as I walked into your office earlier, your wife got you this Valentine's present, and it is an amazing present. So if you don't know what it is, there's a picture of Michael Jordan. It's in a big game against Utah
Jazz,
for the championship.
Karl
Malone, Stockton, all of them. And then the crowd, and it's the picture is from the angle where you're looking at the back of Michael Jackson, and he's
Michael Jordan.
I mean, definitely not Michael Jackson. Michael Jordan, and he's up shooting. It's like the last shot. You can see 0.6 seconds left on the deal, and everything is in black and white. Every fan, every player, everything except Michael Jordan, he's in red and black, and it is an amazing photo. But it just, when you see it, you just look at that photo, it says winning attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. And a winning attitude is real. I think sometimes we don't understand what it really takes to win, to achieve, to accomplish. And I think we get it wrong sometimes, what we think a winning attitude is. Yeah. And sometimes we think it's about, stepping over the next guy, being, dominating over people. And there's no doubt that there's, especially out in business and entrepreneurial efforts, there's a competitive edge that you need. Yeah. And you are, in our capitalistic system, that competition is one of the things that drives quality and it drives economy, meaning it makes things more affordable when there's more competition. Right. So you want to achieve in that way. If you're talking about economics, if you're talking about business, or if you're just talking about leadership of any kind, you want to be an achiever. And one thing I have found to be true, that most achievers I know, and when I say this, a lot of people are going to envision the network marketing, which nothing wrong with network marketing, but they're going to envision the network marketing guy that's like, oh, cheesy, and he's smiling and his sparkling teeth and he's got his thumbs up. And that's what we see when we think winning attitude, because it's been kind of, I don't want to use the word perverted, but it kind of skewed into that kind of an image. But that's really not what it is. A winning attitude is just this deep confidence that I can win, I can accomplish, I can achieve, I can get this done. And it's positive. It's being positive. Mm-hmm. It's not being unrealistic or being fake or phony. It's the opposite of that, actually. So, but it is absolutely necessary. And in a world where everything is so negative, a lot of times we can find ourselves just being brought down. We can find ourselves start complaining, being frustrated, getting irritated with things unnecessarily, maybe because things aren't going our way, instead of taking this posture of, no, life is good. I've got hope that everything's going to turn out the way I want it to. I have faith and confidence in me and in my team. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you're a believer, in God's will and purpose for my life. So, I just think it's very important for us to talk about what a winning attitude is and what it takes to have a winning attitude. Attitude sometimes is more taught than, other way around. It's more caught than taught. Yeah. And we have to learn that. So what I want to do is talk about 3 steps to helping our team have a winning attitude. So I came across this, a quote a while back by Winston Churchill, and it just basically said, attitude is a small thing that makes a big difference. And I think there's a lot of truth in that quote. Attitude is a small thing that makes a big difference. The only thing I disagree with that quote about is that I don't think attitude is that small. Mm-hmm. Now, I think what that quote what he was meaning by that quote is more attitude is a subtle thing that makes a big difference, because attitude is not small. Our behaviors and our attitudes and the way we conduct ourselves come out of our thinking. So whatever we're thinking, whatever is in our mind, the way our mind is set, that's the way our behavior goes. Everyone knows that your life follows the way your mind is set. Mm-hmm. So if I've got my mind set in a certain way, my life's going to follow that direction. So in order for me to have a winning attitude, I have to have winning thinking. I have to have positive thinking. I have to have up thinking. I have to have confident thinking. I can't be allowing my mindset. So in order for us to have that winning attitude, it requires for a lot of people that they have a change of mind, that they have a change of their mindset, that they think differently, that they act differently. So I do think that attitude makes a big difference, but I think attitude is a big thing.
That's right.
And it is subtle.
Yep.
It is subtle because people can pretend to have a good attitude. People can fake a good attitude. But it is a big part of winning, achieving, accomplishing. So the things I wanted to talk about, the three things to have a winning attitude is, first I want to talk about you have to show them and tell them. Okay. If you have a team that you are going to create a winning attitude in, you have to show them and tell them. Number two, you have to get them around other teams or organizations who have a winning attitude. And number three, you have to confront bad or defeatist attitudes. So I want to talk about these three things real quickly. I don't want to take forever, but I just want to get you guys' insights on them, and just kind of hash it out a little bit this morning, so people that are watching and listening to us will take some practical things from this and go, this is how I can have more of a winning attitude, and this is how I can take my team to a place that's their default. See, what I want for our team is I want the winning attitude to be our default. I watched the deal with Michael Jackson. I watched the whole, I keep saying Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan. I watched the whole thing, that expose that they did on him or whatever, that documentary. And man, I'm telling you, that brother was driven. And I didn't agree with everything that he did. But what he did do is he created a culture so that when they got in big games, like on that picture on your wall, it was an automatic for a winning attitude. They in a lot of circumstances, literally willed themselves to win. And so I want to talk about that. So the first thing is show them and tell them. What are you guys' feelings on why it's important for us as leaders to not just talk about having a winning attitude, but showing people, telling them and showing them? Tell me your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, talk is cheap, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, talk is cheap. I've been around people that are great talkers, I mean, but I think when we see talk not followed up or even prefaced with a modeling, then it's kind of, it feels like it's hypocritical or there's no real weight to it. I was thinking you're talking about show and tell. I love that you actually said show and tell instead of tell and show. Yeah. Because we never hear tell and show, because we understand that, like, there needs to be a modeling that takes place. And I was even thinking about kids when they come into their classroom, they show and tell. And you know how it is to get a kid's attention. Yeah. You just start talking, that doesn't mean anything. But like when that kid brings up this is my toy. Yeah. And then the kids see it and they're like, and then you start talking about it. Well, right. Obviously, I believe when we model first, we have some credibility. Right. That goes way deeper than just our talk. Right. So then they're like, Pastor David's not just saying let's have a good attitude. He has a good attitude. Right. I really want to lean in and listen to what he has to say. I mean, we all had that friend that, like, I got this and I got that. I got this, and you're like, yeah, whatever. And then you go to their house and you're like, oh my God, you really do have this. I mean, anybody can talk. I had a coach one time, Connor, that said that he would say, Gadberry, show me, don't snow me. And
because I don't know how your football team was coming up, but man, we were talking the
my
business.
gosh.
Man. We're like, we're gonna cream them.
Yeah.
They're sorry, they suck. My dad said, well, if they suck and they beat you,
Yeah.
what does that make you? Yeah. So how do you feel about the whole modeling concept?
It kind of follows along with Scotty's kind of his quote. I can't remember who said this. But the quote is, "Who you are speaks so loud I can't even hear what you're saying."
Yeah,
who you are speaks so.
A lot of people have said
Henry
that.
David Thoreau, I think, is who I've heard it from. But it's so true. If I see that my leader dismisses the very things he's teaching me, it's hard for me to want to follow that.
Right.
And good coaches, good leaders. Most of the time, their talk carries weight because of what they do.
Right.
And I just think it's important to do that.
Hey,
show and tell.
One of the big disconnects in our political world right now is a bunch of people who are telling everyone else, you have to do this, you have to do that.
Yeah.
But they see themselves as the exception to those rules,
Yeah.
and they don't carry themselves with that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
That to a human, to a person, when we see something when we hear something that comes out of a person's mouth and it doesn't align with their actions, there's something in our brain that goes, you're insincere, you're
mistrust.
inauthentic, you're not real. I can't trust
Yeah.
you. And so if we're trying to create a winning team, we have to do more than say, you need to be a winner. You need to be a winner. Here's how you be a winner. No, when the chips are down, and if we didn't achieve something and I'm the leader, I got to walk into that room and say, what's one thing I love about Coach Blake Bryan over here at Canyon ISD, the Eagles. Every time we'd go in that locker room after the game, if it didn't go well, the first thing he'd say, guys, listen, you gave your hardest, you fought hard, this is on me. This is on me. He'd say it every time. This is on me. I didn't make the right calls. We didn't go the right direction. You gave us everything.
Yeah.
We messed that up. And, is it true every time? Probably not. But the truth is that he understood how to take ownership of things and how to lead those guys into thinking right. And,
that's what my coach used to say. He's like, my players win the games, the coaches lose the games. Which all the time that's not true, but just that mindset, when you hear your coach say that,
right,
it's like that breeds trust.
Yeah.
It breeds me wanting to give my all for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly,
because he's not selling you. He's not throwing you under the bus.
No. Yeah.
So there's not that disconnect. It's very important. It's what gives us credibility as leaders, and it's what makes people want to follow us, because our life is a reflection of our words.
Right.
That's good. Reflection. I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I have a real problem with this. Not personally, like not doing it, but I have to really work on liking or being around or even listening to or hearing or seeing people who have this contradiction in themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not talking about imperfections. Honestly, I'm not. I'm not talking about like messed up, or I made a mistake or I failed. No, I'm talking about people whose lives, they live their life saying one thing and doing another. Mm-hmm. So we really have a problem with that. There's a pastor in the ministry world. There's a pastor named Brian Houston, excellent guy, big organization now, way bigger than you can imagine. But he said something one time that I was listening to his podcast and I really appreciated it. He said you cannot create culture. Everybody's concerned about creating culture. What is culture? Culture is our norms, our values, our ways of being. And if you want a certain kind of culture, everyone wants to create it. I'm going to create this culture. And he says, listen, you can't create culture. You can only be culture. And what he was saying is, if you want a certain culture on your team, that culture has to be you. You have to be that culture. Mm-hmm. So if you're wanting your team to have a winning attitude, that we can do this, we can accomplish it. There's nothing that's insurmountable. There's nothing that can't be done if we find a creative way to do it. If we can't do it this way, we can do it that way. If you want that mentality on your team, that has to come out of you.
Yeah. I like you say reflection, and when we show and tell, it's not talking. So if we want to just talk and try to talk people into what they're supposed to be doing, sometimes it's not reflecting on anything.
Yeah.
When you show first and you're literally telling about the thing.
Yes.
So you have a descriptor, and it's actually reflecting that thing. It makes me think of if we go to get in shape, and you've never gotten in shape before, and you decide you're going to go get a trainer, we're not looking for a trainer that is 200 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
slop. We don't go find that person and go,
Absolutely.
hey, can you guys tell me how to get in shape?
Yeah.
Because if they do, they're just talking. But now if we see someone that's overcome, that is like healthy and shape, they're actually telling about what they've done and experienced. Right. And I think that's, we have to remember, I think it's, man, just as you're saying that, I'm like, I need to be very cognizant as I instruct people that it's coming from who I am, and not just theoretical.
Well, it's surprising to me, just to use your analogy, it is shocking to me how many trainers and people who work, dietitians and things like that, are out of shape and overweight.
And they may have the knowledge.
Right. And I'm like, I would never hire you.
Yeah.
Because you don't really believe. A lot of times I've worked with a lot of, and that what it says in leadership and in entrepreneurialism and business and anything like that. Both of you guys got businesses also as ministry, just like we do. And I'm telling you, in that world, you cannot be a phony or a fake and actually get to where you want to go, because people see it.
Yeah,
people see it.
Things that have been really tested can be trusted. So like I've seen Jeremy Foster do this, but he puts like a bottle of Dasani water up and then just like this crinkled up water bottle with no label on it. He's like, if you're really thirsty and you were going to pick one of these water bottles to take a drink of, which one would you grab? Of course, you'd grab the Dasani. And it's the same with business, because if you haven't been tested and shown yourself proven, nobody's going to trust you at all.
Absolutely.
It's an issue of credibility. And when we see it, when we see somebody who's, overweight and not eating right and not working out, and then we're going to take our cue from them, it's never going to happen. Yeah. And even if they do have the knowledge, it's great, but you don't believe it. And a lot of times when I work with business leaders and entrepreneur people, and I'm coaching them, and they'll say, man, would you be interested in investing in what I'm doing? I'll say, well, my first question to you is, how much have you invested? And it is pretty amazing how many people have not put any money into their own deal.
True.
They want other people to invest in it, but and maybe they don't have all the capital, and that's why they're trying to get investors. But I got to know you've at least put something in, and here's why: because if you haven't, you don't believe.
Yeah, at least sweat equity.
Yes, you don't believe in it, right? Yeah. You're living in fantasy world. You're living in dream world. You don't believe in what you're doing, and that's what you're saying when what you do is different than what comes out of your mouth. Man. Yeah. You're literally letting everyone know, I don't really believe anything I'm talking about. I know it. I have knowledge of it, but I don't really believe it. Mm-hmm. So you can't create culture. You can only be culture. You can tell everyone to have a winning attitude. You can teach them how to have a winning attitude. You can train them in the principles of a winning attitude. However, the only way you'll have a culture of winning is if you yourself have a winning attitude. That's it. Because of this idea that things are caught as much as they are taught. The second thing is get them around other teams or organizations who have a winning attitude. How important is that?
Oh my gosh. It's funny because there's so many times, like, your leader may be telling you something that he knows works and you should be doing it. But sometimes until you hear it from somebody else, it does not catch. Yeah. And it's just something
that's
weird.
So frustrating too.
It's something weird in our minds that does that. But that's one thing I love about you is you expose us to so many people, and it really, you've taught us to be like lifelong learners. Yeah. And so when you apply those things and you get outside, you don't see the forest for the trees, you get outside of that, man, there's so many things you can learn. You may be doing something completely wrong and there's a simple solution, and you go look at somebody else, and it's like, there's the answer right there.
Yeah, one of the big principles in decision making if you're trying to manage your decision making and be excellent at decision making, one of the main things is find someone who's already fought the battle you're fighting. Yes. And I think one of the things that makes exposure important is this. What I think is excellent, or what I think is great, or what I think is what we need for a winning attitude, I can say that to you. These are the words I'm saying to you, but my definition of those words may be different than your definition.
That's true.
So what I say is excellent, I may know what that is to me, but when you hear the word excellent, it may have a different meaning to you, or level of meaning. Yeah. But if I take you somewhere to another organization that is doing that excellence that I perceive as excellence, and you see it, now what I have been telling you becomes real to you because you're seeing it in action.
That's right.
I think we're such visual people, especially in our culture today, that exposing people to what you're trying to teach them is a very important thing. How do you feel about that, Scotty?
Oh, yeah, total agreement. And I just think there's a familiarity. We become familiar with one another. I think that's why you see it in not just in every sector of life. As parents, you can tell your kids something, and then then their youth pastor or leader in their life can tell them the exact same thing you've been telling them. And they're like, "You won't believe how awesome, how awesome my youth pastors. They told me this." And you're like,
I've been telling you that.
Yeah, and it happens. It happens with our teams. It happens receiving. You speaking into our lives, and even like when we give you input from things you're asking for. It's just we become familiar. And
white
so
noise after a while.
That's why we need the refreshing. Also, too, I mean, I just think that it's good to not just go see something, but also to see your leaders in different settings. We shouldn't lose respect for our leaders, but sometimes when we see them in different settings, we remember, not just their skill set and their wisdom, but also that God has positioned them in our lives for a reason. So just being around them, not just hearing new things from people, but also I think sometimes it resets
seeing them in a different light
and our willingness to receive. Sometimes we kind of shut down receiving a little bit, and we don't even know that we've done.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And
it's not an intentional thing. It just happens over time. But I'll tell you, it's good for leaders too. And I think one of the greatest things that exposure of higher level things is good for is humility. Because as a leader, if you're always out in front and you're always saying, "Come on, people, we can do it. Let's go for this," and then you go somewhere where someone's doing things at another level or more excellently than you do it, it is so. I see guys that go to business conferences and ministry conferences and all these kind of conferences, and you have one of two different guys. And I'm the second kind of guy, but you have one guy that'll go see that, and who are all these testimonials of great things that are happening in people's business, and hear the hard things that they had to go through to get to that point. And they'll leave being discouraged and defeated and like, "Oh man, we're never going to get there. How can we achieve that?" And blah. And then you have another kind of guy that goes, "Man, we can do that if we'll just do what they did. If we'll learn, if we'll get encouraged, if we'll get the right attitude, if we'll put the right people on the team, we can do that." And that's really what good exposure does. And when you have a right attitude, but if you don't have a winning attitude and you get around the Michael Jordans of the world, you'll leave feeling horrible, and it reveals your insecurity. And believe me, I've been there. I've in my younger ministry, I would go to conferences and I would leave going, I feel like nobody, and I'm never going to achieve. And it wasn't the conference, and it wasn't the people, it was my own insecurities. And when you change your attitude, then everything that you perceive and receive and notice and observe and learn from it, you see it in a different light. It's like taking a different vantage point. That's what attitude does. It gives you a different vantage point.
So good.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, real winners, there is, like, everybody who has a drive in them does have pride to an extent. like a little healthy dose of that pushes them.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some people, like real winners, are okay with being leveled. Sometimes they're like,
Yeah.
man, I just need something fresh.
Yeah.
Because like one thing in my mind that I fear is not being able to answer questions that are really being asked by the current, you could say relevance, but I don't even like using that word. But just like, I want to be able to answer the questions that are actually being asked.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like my finger's on the pulse, and then sometimes I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
So I go listen to like what other people are saying, like what's going on.
Right.
And so I think real winners are always like looking for that thing.
Right.
And of course, you know, in a Christian context, we take all of that from the Bible.
Right.
And there are answers to life's questions
Right.
within there. But there are specific things that I think God wants to speak to us. And by us being curious and proactive, I think it helps.
But even in the scripture, what does it say? It says that victory comes from a multitude of counselors.
Yeah.
You know, there are people
That's good.
that can help you. And you know what I found about real good leaders? They want to help you. Like
Yes.
a lot of times people looking for a mentor or looking for someone to help them get an edge, they assume first that they're too busy, they don't want to help, they've got their own stuff. But most great leaders I know absolutely want to help.
That's right.
They want to help.
You're right.
I know, I mean, I don't consider myself a great leader, but I can tell you that I rarely ever go to somebody, no, I'm not, I won't email you, or no, I'm not going to, consult with you, or I'm not going to talk to you about that. Never. Because in me, I'm like, hey, I've been there when I felt like I didn't have anybody. And if somebody needs me, I want to be there for them.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm only 24, you kind of have to be like Elisha and Elijah. Like you have to get in their circle. They're busy. Like
Right.
good leaders, they're busy.
Yeah.
So you've got to talk
Get
to
in
them.
their
You got to
circle,
call them. You got to text.
Right.
You got to be the one asking the questions. And
Right.
you got to be okay with initiating that side.
Yeah.
Because I
That's
mean,
great. That's
it's not their day job to pour into you, bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're paying them money.
Right. That's a great, which is another thing I'll talk about in a minute, but that's a great analogy that I like. Elijah said to Elisha, hey, what have I had to do with you?
Yes.
And Elisha said, I ain't leaving.
Yeah.
So get used to it. I'm here.
Yes.
But at the same time, the whole deal, that's another level. If you really want excellence in your life, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Pay somebody to help
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. I don't know. I don't understand guys who will just refuse to invest in themselves. It's great that your company might invest in you, or that your career path, there might be someone who invests in you. It's great that you have someone in your life that may invest in you, but are you investing in you? And if you're not willing to put some money down on, making yourself better, then you probably going to be stuck.
Because being 24, I don't have all the keys to all the doors I want to walk through. Y'all may have a key that I don't have. And
Right.
just by having a conversation or,
Right.
just buying them lunch.
Yeah.
Just going out and buying somebody lunch and asking them to pour into
I
you.
love Maxwell's story where he talks about when he was first starting in ministry and he was just like, I don't know enough. He said he went through, seminary, but he didn't know enough about leadership. And so what he did is he looked up, I want to say 6 or 7 guys that he thought these are guys that I want to learn from. And he called them up and he said, can I take you out, buy you lunch, have 1 hour of your time? And then he said, I prepared for days and weeks specific questions that I wanted for them because I needed to gain that from that person. And he said, I think it was like $100 at that time. It was like $100 for each person.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't have that money. We had to sacrifice for me to do that.
Yeah.
But he said, I'm telling you right now, that
Made
changed
all
my
the
world.
difference.
And some of those relationships he maintained throughout his life.
Yeah.
And some of them didn't help him at all. But you have to be willing to invest in yourself. And I think that's what a winning attitude is. And that's the difference between someone who, says they have a winning attitude and really does have a winning attitude. A winning attitude is more than just thinking positively. It's about this gut level. I am going to achieve this.
Yeah.
And I think some people divorce that from, especially believers, they divorce that from the purpose of God.
Yeah.
But every single person that I see in the Bible that God picked out to use to do
my
something,
gosh.
they had a gut level I'm going to push through. I'm going to go over. I'm going to go around. I'm going to find the formula. I'm going to figure it out. I mean, you cannot read the Bible and not see that over and over and over again. They had winning attitudes. Yeah. And they sometimes had to do weird things because God asked them to do things that weren't conventional and weren't they were literally counter to the culture.
Like uncomfortable. They all had to get uncomfortable.
Right, out of the comfort zone and all of that. So a winning attitude sees it from a different perspective. Instead of going, oh, nobody else does that, they go, I'm doing it. I'm going for it. What do we have to lose? And if we do lose, if we do fail, we'll learn from that and then we'll try it again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I love Henry Ford says that failure is just an opportunity to try it again more intelligently.
That's good.
And I really believe that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
About the exposure to people, and we're talking about money and what you should do, all that. But let's not forget that there is a million ways and so much information right now. There is no excuse.
No.
And you're right.
You know,
so good.
I think
I can think of 5 podcasts right now that every entrepreneur should be listening to every week.
Make sure you send those to me.
Yeah.
And I think about, like, you said this, and then you even hear Craig Rochelle talk about mentors that didn't even know they mentored him because he read their books and things of that nature. And there's the book Breaking Out or something.
Breakout Churches.
Breakout Churches, and it's modeled after Good to Great. Mm-hmm. And I think they had this criteria for Breakout Churches, and one of the cool things about it is that it had to be under the same leader. Yeah. So it wasn't changing leadership as far as a new leader coming in.
Right.
And so they identified these 13 churches that just had been very plateaued for a long, long time and broke out. And every one of the 13 pastors had a aha moment, which we hear about.
Yeah.
And most of them came from exposure, either at a conference or with another group of people, and their eyes were open. Mm-hmm. That they had the right attitude, but they just hadn't done things the right way. They just literally hadn't, and they probably wouldn't have been jogged out of that thing unless the very thing you're saying.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be you getting us around other people.
Right.
We're not limited by, Pastor David never sends to a conference.
That's good.
Yeah. We can say, I'm going to do this. It can jog and it jogs you out.
Right.
You can have the right attitude, but if you don't get exposed, sometimes you're just like, you don't see other things.
Yeah, and if you're in a career or even in a business that you don't stop and take the time to develop yourself,
right?
If you're, like you said, if you're waiting on your employer to send you to a conference so that you can become better, you're going to probably be stuck in that role you're playing right now. You're probably not going to be ever elevated. You're not going to be promoted because you're waiting on someone else to make it happen for you. Yeah. And it just doesn't. Even mentoring, like Connor was saying earlier, even mentoring, it's not them doing it for you.
Right.
It's just you being exposed to them.
You got to mine the gold. I mean, most people, most leaders, like if you're my age, anybody with gray hair in your vicinity has gold locked up in them.
In them there hills.
There's gold.
I'm going to disagree with that just a little bit.
Some of them. Good leaders.
They got a good chance, though, just from that life.
They've got more experience than you, but I know a lot of gray hairs. I would encourage you, don't listen
Common
at all.
sense will weed those out. Common sense will weed those guys out.
Absolutely. But your point is right.
Yeah, mine the gold out of them, because
absolutely
you gotta be a digger.
The Bible says in Proverbs that the soul of man is a deep well, and a man of understanding draws it out.
Right.
And so if you have a leader in your life, like you're saying, older people who've gone before you, even if they're not that much older than you, but they've had a lot more experience than you. In the world of being a young adult like you are, 2 years can mean a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like somebody could have really gone a lot further than you and been expanded in their mind a lot further than you. Just 2, 3, or 4 years. But you're right about there's something special about getting around someone who's significantly older than you. And
I cherish that time. Like even my grandparents that are still alive, like I will sit around and talk for hours.
Yeah.
Just to ask questions.
Yeah. And you know what, Connor? It's sad to me that in our culture right now, if a lot of people are just ignoring leaders with experience because they're not as technologically savvy, or they don't know the end thing or the cool factor or whatever like that. And it's like, man, you don't get it at all. You don't get it at all.
Point.
Right. Yeah. It's new is not always better.
Right.
Young is not always better. Cool is not always better. I mean, look at some of the things that have happened in our culture, even technologically. It hasn't been the coolest people that made it happen.
Right.
It's not even been the most educated people. So we have to really think about exposing ourselves to things that are going to take us there, surrounding ourselves with people who have a winning attitude. Don't surround yourself with people who have a bad attitude or a defeatist attitude, because it's like we were talking this morning, you're going to be the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. If that's the kind of people you're around, that's who you will be.
Yes.
And that's just the fact. So context matters. The reason for this is everything is subjective. So, we see things one way, but it's not until we get exposed to the definition of what our leader is asking us that we actually literally can take it on and go, oh, I get it now. I remember one time, I love to play basketball. I'm not a great basketball player. I was decent in high school, but not great. But I love to play. And I remember one time we were playing a pickup game, and there was a man that was playing with us, and he was just in his 20s, maybe 27, and I was probably 23. Great guy, just a really friendly, nice guy. But he played for OU. He's a Division I basketball player. Now, I'll just tell you, he sat the bench. He didn't play. But when he got on the court with us in that pickup game, all you had to do is just watch him for 5 seconds, and you knew, oh, there's a difference between just the regular, really, really good pickup guy and a guy who could play at the Division I level. It's exposure. You don't understand until you see it. Right? I'm telling you, the way he handled the ball, the drills that he was doing just for fun before, I was like, I can't. I mean, I can't even imagine doing that. And it's just, but you never know what that level is, and that's why some people never grow. They never move to that next potential because they haven't been exposed. They haven't put themselves in front of it.
Yeah, it's like, I guess it's like, I think about all, like musicians, I think about all my senses, and even food. I love food. Like, I mean, if I wasn't a pastor, I'd try to be a chef. Like, until you taste really good food, until you hear somebody that can really play, until you see somebody who can really do it.
Right.
And it, like, gives you the freedom, like, man, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like, I think I could learn that.
Right.
Like, when I hear, like, Jason Upton play the piano, he's a worship leader, I'm like, man, I've kind of fiddled around. I could do that.
Yeah.
And then I go do it, and I learn it, and then I'm like, man, I was made better by exposing myself to somebody else.
Right.
That's good.
Excellence always comes through exposing yourself to other excellence.
Yeah.
However, defeat also comes through exposing yourself to people who embrace and have defeatist attitudes. So the last and third thing is this. We want to talk about confronting a bad or defeatist attitude. Now, first and foremost, we have to deal with the issue of confrontation to begin with. People have a real struggle with confrontation. It's surprising how many leaders I know that are absolutely outstanding leaders, but confrontation is not something they want to be about. And what they don't even realize is that they're confronting literally nonstop. They just don't realize it because they're living their life with excellence. They're learning, they're growing. And so their life engaging with lives of other people is confrontational, because whenever you rub up against somebody who's excellent and moving forward and doing something great, and maybe your life isn't doing that same thing, it's confrontational. It's like, oh, it makes me uncomfortable even being around them because I know I'm not giving it what I could be. They don't realize that they're confrontational in just the way of leading and directing people's lives, pulling them out of their comfort zone. Anytime there's that tension of something needs to be better, that's confrontation. So confrontation is not a negative thing. Now, there are confrontational situations that are hard and they're not easy to deal with because they're big deals, And so you do have that, but every leader has to face it, has to deal with it. And we cannot confuse the word confrontation with controversy. They're different words.
That's a good.
And confrontation is something you have to do. Now, when you say confronting, in order to have a winning attitude on the team, you have to confront bad and defeatist attitudes. That sounds kind of harsh and negative. Like, all right, I'm going to go in and clean. I'm going to go clean this place up. I'm cleaning this town up. You know, it's going to be a new sheriff in town. You know, I'm going to confront. And there's a lot of leaders when they first hit the ground at a new post, they're like, I'm going to clean this place up. And that's their attitude. That's not what I'm talking about at all. You know, culture is developed as we consistently model what we want. And part of that process is confronting wrong mindsets and behaviors that need to change in order to get where we want. So it may sound negative, but it's really not. And all this literally is just helping people become aware of themselves. That's all it is. It's, you know, we've got attitudes, every one of us, we've got attitudes, we've got issues, we've got little things in our life that really it's a blind spot for us. Mm-hmm. And anybody who tells you they don't have any blind spots are crazy. That's a blind spot in and of itself that they think they don't have any.
Yeah, it is.
So what we do as leaders is we want to take the position of a coach in someone's life, asking them questions to bring them to a place of awareness where they realize, man, I've got a really bad attitude in this. I need to change that. Maybe the reason I haven't been winning is because I'm a loser in my mind.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've got this mindset of I'm never going to accomplish it. I don't know how I'll ever get it done. I mean, I had a guy working for me one time that, you know, if you ever want to get me stirred up and really get me like on your case, just tell me it can't be done. I'm like, oh, it can be done, you know, and what you find is you have some people that the way they think is if it can't be done this way, it can't be done.
Or if it can't be done by me.
Right.
Then
And so,
it can't be done.
and so this guy, he was like, what you've asked me to do, it can't be done. And he literally said those words, it can't be done. I said, well, do this. Why don't you try this? And I gave him another way to do it. And he still called me back. And what I was starting to figure out is like, what the truth was, he didn't want to do what it would take for it to be done. So then I took the whole team to him and we brainstormed it. And in like 30 minutes, it was done. I won't go into all what it was, but he could have done that himself. And he was embarrassed. He literally walked out in the middle of it and was gone for like 2 hours. And he came back and we had to have a conversation and everything like that because he was so embarrassed. I wasn't ugly to him. I didn't like put it in his face. I just thought he feels alone. He feels like he can't do this on his own. And so I'm going to show him, number one, it can be done and that we're with him. We'll all do it together if we have to. And so that was confrontational to him, but it corrected something in him where he said, you know, why is my first thought it can't happen? And so if you've got people on your team that their first thought is, we can't accomplish, I hear the leader up there talking about what we're going to do. I don't see a way that we're going to do that. If that's their first thought, you've got some work to do on confronting those issues and drawing out first awareness in themselves that they know, and then secondly, the replacing it with the right mindset. So, talk to me about it. What do you think about that? Give me some thoughts about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're all human, so obviously there are going to be times where. Well, it also depends on your leader, but there are times where either what's being cast is our first thought is fearful a little bit, or we can't do it because we have to have work, like you're saying. Mm-hmm. I think there are times where there is a big dog, elephant-sized thing that you're trying to cast vision for. And we also can have a right attitude, but our first thought might be at first like, ooh,
how in the world?
Man. Yeah. And what I've always tried to encourage people with is like, that's okay.
Yeah.
It just can't sustain in you. It can't continue in you. So you've got to learn self-awareness and think, okay, hold on a second.
Right.
It's almost like you brainstorm together, but now you have to, I think a winning attitude brainstorms even inside yourself.
What's my role in
you
this?
figure out how to, grab a hold of this thing.
good.
And then instead of like this, if we look at people that have a losing attitude and a negative attitude, they love company, right?
Yeah. Yes, they
So
do.
when they hear something like that, what do? Well, come on, we know they think about it. They go to someone else. Connor, what did you think about what Pastor David said today?
Yeah.
And we know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? How in the heck are we supposed to do that?
Yeah.
Where people with a winning attitude think through that and say, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
We can do this. Let me start putting this down on paper. Let me start writing this out. Let me start, and before you know it, you're no longer thinking of the impossibility. You've actually brainstormed in yourself.
Right.
Now you may need some more help, but how you can come about. And it's one of those things too. Sometimes, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all.
Right.
Sometimes we just need to be quiet for a while.
Yeah.
Instead of spouting out the fear, the negativity, or even getting someone else to come alongside us.
Yeah.
And if we'll just
Right.
even if it's short-lived, we can move past that. And I think learning how
So
to do
true.
that's big. Yeah.
Do you know what I tell people about? Most struggles in life are not about what that big thing out there. It's the struggle you have inside of you, whether or not you're going to try.
That's right.
And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. And it's okay. If someone has a winning attitude, they'll do that. They'll also ask questions.
Yeah.
So that they can process. Okay, so what you're saying is, what I hear you saying is this, okay, and so we want to try to achieve this. And then they start thinking and they start brainstorming. They start coming up with ways. We learned a lot about that in this last year. Everybody did.
That's true.
If you were paying attention. Because one thing we had to start saying in 2020 is, we may not be able to do it the way we have done it, but we are still going to do it. We'll just do it a different way. Mm-hmm. And so there were definitely things as an organization that we still accomplished. We just didn't do them like they were normally done. But if you don't have that winning attitude, instead, what we could have done is, we might as well just shut everything down we're going to do, and we'll just try to wait this out. But, I love John Maxwell says, I think it was him that says, leaders do not take the sails down in a storm, they adjust the sails. So you use the negativity or whatever the wind is, whatever the problem is coming at you, you use it to take you to where you need to go. It may be different. It may be a different path that you thought you were going to take. It may be a different issue than you thought you were going to handle. It may require a little bit more thinking, but I think the key is what you just said. A winning attitude does not gather to itself people to go, I don't understand. I don't think we can do it. I think winners also do gather people to themselves, but I think they do it after they've processed and go, all right, let me get your thoughts on this. Here's a way that I thought we could achieve this. What are your thoughts on that? And I'm not at all, listen, I don't believe in sycophantic leadership. And what I mean by that is I don't believe in a leader surrounding themselves with people that are just going to say, yes, 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 yes. You're not going to do your best unless you have some pushback, period. And any leader that's worth their salt and has any confidence whatsoever will surround themselves with people who will not be criticizers, but they will be critical thinkers. And they'll be objective and look at what that vision is and literally help you do the best that you possibly can by maybe even possibly pushing back at you and saying, a winning attitude might say, yeah, I could see us doing that. But wow, have we thought about this? Have we looked at this from this perspective? We may want to think about this in order to do that. There's some decision-making thoughts out there and principles up there of, take the opposite perspective, or that term we use, the devil's advocate. We've had organizations in the past, especially in the church, where they were set up wrong and you had a board and their job was to just shut you down, and I think there's so many leaders that are afraid that if they surround themselves with real thinkers, that they'll just shut me down. They just won't want to do anything. But that's not really the truth. If you really believe in the people that you surround yourself with in terms of leadership, you want them to speak the objective truth as they see it, to help you become as aware as you can of what's the best way to do things. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not a good leader as far as I'm concerned. You're just insecure, and you just want people to tell you how awesome you are. And to be honest, we're not all that awesome, no matter who we are. I mean, anybody that you can name that's this all great leader, you can name 50 people behind them that really made them who they are.
Yeah, like
always someone tougher.
Yeah, like what Chad Veach says. He's like, my dad used to always tell me, everybody's already laughing at you, Chad. You might as well join them. It's like, you know, don't take yourself too serious.
No, that's good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So I think those three things, I think they'll create a winning attitude. I think we've got to really challenge ourselves to model a winning attitude. Then we have to understand that exposure is required for us to really develop a winning attitude. And I think lastly, we got to be able to confront the negative and defeatist mindsets that we all have to some degree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because every one of us face fear, we face doubt, we face a lack of confidence in ourselves. You know, every one of us have that inner critic that says, "Oh, you can't do that. You're not big enough to do that. You're not, you know, you're not a big enough deal to be able to accomplish that." And you have to literally become aware of those things so you can think right and get your mindset right. And so if you're really going to confront a defeatist or negative attitude, you have to start with you.
That's
you have
right.
to look in the mirror, and you have to challenge yourself, and then you can be good at
Win the
confronting
battle
other ones.
within.
That's right. That's right. So thanks, guys, for being with us today and having this conversation with me. Thank you all for being a part of the leadership network that we're developing. And, you know, here at Life and Leadership with David Gadberry, we are totally committed to adding as much value as we can. So I want to encourage you today to think about that. Today, as a leader in someone's life, who can you add value to? Like literally, think of something intentionally you can do today that adds value to someone around you. And I'm going to make you this guarantee. It's the only guarantee we make at Gadberry Leadership Coaching. And that is this, that if you add value to someone else, the greater value will be added to you. Period. That's the way it works. So thank you for being a part today. God bless you. Have a good one.